Hello, fellow comic book worms. This is Nine Man. I got Damien, the sleepy reader here. Then we got
Hey.
Merog down there. So today we're going to discuss our favorite Kamandi issues. Yeah, I got one.
This is the sequel.
Yeah, right.
This is a previous one was sort of like a prequel, right?
Well, yeah, prequel. Okay, so this is the first true episode.
First true Kamandi episode.
The other one we were just talking about the origins and how it parallels Planet of the Apes, but it really wasn't coming from that originally. But we sort of figured that because DC couldn't get the license, they sort of made this kind of amalgamation between Kamandi of the Caves and Planet of the Apes, and you got this.
Yeah. And by the way, I got this book. I didn't show you. I showed you Sleepy, but
oh, great!
It's from Amazon. It's just replica of the
replica, right?
Of that book.
Of the
last nice. And it looks like a slightly larger size.
Yeah, slightly larger size. So comic book fit right in it, kind of.
I see. Cool. And comics might have been a little bigger back then too.
Let's see. It might have been, but there's
not that big.
A lot of borders. It seems to be a lot of borders with the yellow here.
Yeah, it looks like they reproduced it from a comic itself.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah. They had to have a little bit of buffer.
Yeah, but so yeah, until I get that comic book by itself, I don't know if I'm gonna get it, but because they may want a tremendous amount of price for it. But if I could get it, go ahead.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I've had it somewhere in the past.
Okay.
But 30 years ago or something.
Did you realize it was the Proto Kamandi at the time?
No, I had no idea.
It's right under your nose.
No idea.
It took Naman to educate me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd vaguely heard there was some Proto Kamandi, but I did not know where it was.
Right. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben, what's up? So, who want to go first? Who want to show your favorite Kamandi cover first? Kamandi cover or Kamandi issues?
How about we go around in a circle, each show one favorite Kamandi cover. That way, we each have a chance. Otherwise, the first person might put in all the three best ones.
All the three, yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So let's.
And Naman would do that,
Well, who's going first?
You.
Me? Okay.
We're clockwise here. You, then Damien, then me.
And you're our leader.
All right.
We look up to
I'll go. So I guess I get the privilege of showing off the first book, right?
Right.
Great.
And that is, the classic cover.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Let's see. Here you go.
I started it all.
Now, I do have this in digital format. One of the like I said before, I never liked
Kirby's art
before.
Kirby's art, right?
So I never sicked it, and this is before my time anyway. 20 cents. This is by the time I got to, I think it was 25 cents when I got to the United States. So
okay.
This is before my time anyway.
74 was 25 cents.
Huh?
74.
74.
And when was this? 72 or 71?
72.
72, I think.
I think. Yeah.
72. So, but now this particular cover invokes that Planet of the Apes for me. So I love that cover. I love that cover. As a matter of fact, I got this. I got a reader copy, and I have it because I don't want to.
You don't want to. You got a reader copy that you don't want to read.
Yeah, and then so I got a digital version.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I gifted mine to Night Tiger because he really wanted it, so I gifted him my Kamandi one.
Your Kamandi one.
Yeah. So
I've read it to death, so it's like I know it like by heart.
Yeah. So I mean.
No duck races, Jackson Roy Kirk. No.
Sorry, guys.
Maybe you can say we're three odd ducks, but no duck races.
No duck races today.
No.
I don't think Kamandi ever fought Doug though.
No, I don't think he did. No.
So, well, Kamandi he's racing by himself.
Yeah, that's when he's rafting down Manhattan, I think it is. Yeah, Manhattan at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing about this issue, I never quite understood where the rest of the Kamandi's crew went.
Which crew? You mean the people he was raised with?
Yeah, he had his grandfather.
Right.
Yeah. There was Command D Center, right? Command D, right? Command Center D, right? Where's Command Center C, A, B?
Yeah.
What happened to all those people?
Yeah.
That was never explained.
Somehow everyone died out.
But then that was never explained.
No, it was never explained.
It was never explained.
And then with how long did time pass since the Great Disaster?
At first, it seems like just a little bit of time has passed, but I've been shotgunning about 19 issues since we last talked, and it becomes clearer and clearer that a lot of time has passed.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you had to have these animals evolve from non-speaking animal becomes
exactly.
But that was chemically induced. Now remember, the grandfather.
There's an issue where it shows they're chemically
induced. The grandfather was old, but he was still within a life range, right? So unless he was born in that bunker, it might have been it might have been somewhere within about 50 or 100 years,
Right. There was this is not one of my favorite. It's a good cover, but this is the cover. This is the issue 16, where we learn that there was a human scientist who released a drug that accelerated the growth of intelligence.
Oh,
right.
But the other thing is, we also learn that in one of these issues that they all come from zoos. They spell it Z-U-U, and they think it's some fantastic paradise that they came from, which means there was just a few lions and tigers, and so it would have taken many generations for them to become kingdoms of animals in the U.S. If that was where all the animals came from. So that's another clue to me that it must be at least 300 or 400 years from now, in my mind.
Which is pretty. I mean, so it wasn't natural evolution. So it was induced evolution.
Yes.
Right.
It was chemically induced. Supposedly, it went into the water supply or something, and it flowed into the zoos and all that. So
and the animals drank the water.
But then, did they ever explain how come human developed so quickly in 400 years?
I think it's the opposite, that they drank the water and they went backwards.
Maybe they never
explained it though.
I don't think Jack Kirby had thought all this through. To tell you the truth.
Or if he did, he hadn't gotten to the point where it was going to be. He never got to the point where it got explained.
Blonde Amazon had asked what Kamandi's about. Here's my first favorite cover. And Kamandi essentially is a post-apocalyptic story where this one intelligent boy is in a world where humans are like animals, and most animals have evolved, many to have civilizations and wars between each other and all kinds of things. So humans are either pets or slaves or just wild beasts. In this one, humans are raced on giant water buffalo and giant grasshoppers.
Yep.
But this is one of my favorite covers because it's just such a wild and crazy situation.
That would have been like my third or fourth pick because that takes place in Hialeah, Florida.
Hialeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I live just south of that racetrack.
Right.
So that would have been
like what's his Hialeah Comic?
Hialeah Comic Bro.
Bro, yeah.
He no longer lives in Hialeah.
I used to think his name was Hialeah. I didn't know it was a place in Florida.
Yeah, it's a city just between North Florida and Miami. I mean, North Miami and Miami. It's a big.
There's a famous racetrack there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now I want to go to the racetrack now that I've read about it in Kamandi.
I don't know if it's still open. I'm not sure if it's still open, Dan.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was a great little story arc there where he had to race the guy and
Yeah, the whole story arc with the giant grasshopper is really cool.
Yes, that was so cool.
Although as a kid, it drove me crazy that Jack Kirby drew the grasshopper with 4 legs and not 6.
Oh yeah.
It really pissed me off.
Hey, Princess, how you doing?
What about the? Let me ask you guys, because you mentioned racetrack, why didn't horse evolve? Because they were never in the zoo.
That's right.
There's a lot of letters about that complaining.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They ride horses throughout here. That's right.
Right. And we get giant but not intelligent grasshoppers. There's other weird things. There's a giant worm later on.
Yeah.
And there are humans who have devolved into kind of gophers. So there's all kinds of weird stuff that I don't think Jack Kirby had at the time he wrote it figured it all out yet.
Yeah. Dolphins are just like bigger with teeth, and intelligent, So. Yeah, I mean it's comics, guys. You can't overthink it too much. So,
yeah, but I think Jack Kirby to have all this planned out.
If you want to put straight logic to it, you're never going to get into comics. Let's put it that way.
But I like the idea that it's induced evolution because then it's quickly done. Then they could also select it. One thing I noticed is that a lot of evolved ones are predators, not prey.
That's a good point. Yeah, you don't get a lot of zebras and giraffes or anything.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of deer and and there are dogs and cats, but
those are kind of predatory animals.
Kind of predatory,
It's basic nature.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Anyway, I in my head canon, Kamandi actually was like a frozen boy or something, and he got thawed out, and there was some caretaker who called himself his grandfather.
That could be.
But that's just how I explain how much time had passed by.
Remember those gangsters he met in Chicago? Those were androids. So
right.
Yeah.
And online, or maybe it was in the Jack Kirby Collector fanzine, there was a theory that OMAC was his grandfather, and that the remaining humans are not real humans. They are those life model androids from the OMAC comics that have just, gone out into the wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly right because, I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't remember all these. Okay. But I only read up to 20. And I don't even remember the chemical induced part of the.
Yeah, that was the issue Damien showed there. Yeah,
what was that? 16?
The one with the
issue 16.
Okay.
With this memorable humans in cages cover.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's Roger's turn. We don't need to.
All right. So there's a couple I'm going to say later because I don't have the cover. They might be down in my pressing area. I'm not sure, but this one that you sent me, Dane. Nauman is currently my very favorite of the Kamandi stories because it shows that Kamandi, beyond, obviously he's much more higher functioning than the other humans, other than the mutants, Fun Boxer and Renzi and Steve. But it shows that he is incredibly clever and is great at solving problems.
Kamandi is.
Yeah, he's a critical thinker because essentially they see Ben Boxer, these guys that worship the Mighty One, right? And they're like, oh, he's here, so he's sort of like the savior and all this stuff. But then this gorilla says, well, you got to prove it because he wants to be the title, the Mighty One, right? So they put him through all these labors, tasks, like lifting up this boulder and stepping in lava and all this stuff. And through trickery and Ben Boxer's, ability to turn into that cyclo heart metal or whatever,
they call him Silver Surfer. He turns into Silver Surfer.
Yeah, right. It kind of looks like it. Yeah. they prove to that society of gorillas that, or they make them believe that he is Superman, but this guy still doesn't believe it, and he takes the costume, because they're worshiping this. This is like, the Superman has like a big stone.
He had become his own mythology. This is the whole mythology behind
mythology, right?
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately he has to kill. Man, I forgot the name of this guy. He has to kill him because even though his own people are saying that, hey, he's the mighty one. He's the mighty one. He's here to save us. He's here to no. So Kamandi has to kill this guy, but it's so clever. I like how they wind in the legend of Superman without giving anything away. We don't know if he's alive. We don't know if he's dead. We don't know if what happened to him.
It's always Hollywood costume.
His costume, right? So I just thought this was a really clever and really, really well done story.
Yeah, with that, Kamandi is so separate from the rest of the DC universe, and when you first look at that, they're going to somehow integrate it, but then it's done so that it never has to be integrated, right?
No, right. This is essentially like an alternate Earth. When you look at Kamandi in the long run, so you just don't know though. You don't know at some point if, hey, they're going to merge like a crisis thing, So right. Again, really, really cool issue. Ben Boxer is like, I can't do this. Like, yeah, don't worry, I'll take. It's really neat, and also it establishes how close a relationship they have and how they trust each other.
And they made a cartoon based on that book.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, really? I missed that. Where was that cartoon?
Animation on that, based on that book. Kamandi. It's on. I think it's on the. If you have one of those channels. I think
like HBO Max or something.
HBO Max, I think.
Look what Ben put there. Look what Ben put there. First book I bought off the rack.
Wow,
that's a
good one, Ben.
That's a great beginning to a comic book career.
Excellent.
That's a. I remember my very first book I bought off the rack is where Superman is flying off the statue. Superman.
Oh yeah,
Superman off.
Yeah, the statue, and he's like crying or something.
Yeah, and the other Superman's going, I cannot help but you. Now it's up to you, statue. I mean, it's little.
We always remember our first, right? I mean that's amazing, right?
Like,
after all these years.
But that one would have been cooler, much cooler, I thought.
That is cool. That is cool.
But okay, so is it my turn?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go right to issue 2. And let me show you why.
So are we still just talking covers, or are we talking favorite stories now?
Let it just flow.
Okay, whichever you want. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So this is not particularly my favorite cover, but I do want to mention something here. It says here, Kamandi, Year of the Rat.
Right.
Okay. You guys know what year this is?
I heard you mention it on one of your videos, and now I'm trying to remember. It's not of the rat, though.
It's the year of the bunny.
The rabbit.
Rabbit. I'm Rabbit. I'm the rabbit, by the way. But okay, so I went back and I go, is
it really the year of the rat?
Yes, I checked. 1972. When this was
Wow.
published, it's Year of the Rat.
Wow.
Cool. Wow.
So
They did their research, man.
but let me tell you about our mythos on. Hey, by the way, tomorrow's tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow.
Lunar New Year.
I think it's this weekend is a New Year's. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy Year of the Rabbit.
Happy Year of the Rabbit. But
carrots.
There's a mythology on how the animals got their signs. So either God, Buddha, or caretaker say, hey, if the first 12 animal that comes to me, if you travel to me, I'll give you each first 12 will get the sign, and we'll dedicate the sign to you. So all these animals start traveling toward their creator, right? And
so dragons exist then.
yeah, well, dragon, yeah, dragon dragon should have been there first because he's a magical creature. But
Okay.
in Asia, dragon is a good guy. So
Right.
he's saving the village rather than he's killing the village. He's saving different kind of villages from.
Okay, so it's not the dragon we think in mythology necessarily.
Yeah. So the one that was really, diligent traveling to his creator was cow. Cow was really very diligent, trying to make, go to his creator. The cat and mouse was always arch enemy, so cat's always after him, but mouse is always clever. So mouse climbed onto cow's head and hid, and he told the cow, "Hey, I'm trying to go to my maker. This cat is not letting me. He's constantly chasing me. Can you tell cat to go away?" So cow says, "He went that way," and cow keep on walking. so cat never made it because cat always was looking for mouse.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So
that close, cat. That close.
So because cow was so diligent, like rabbit, like me, was like I was being chased away by rabbit is like behind tiger. So tiger, because rabbit was afraid, he always hid behind tiger. He was never in front of tiger. So and tiger, where's that rabbit? I need food. He just walked. So cow was the only one that wasn't, distracted by others. He kept on walking. He was going to be the very first. He swam across the river, and so he was about to make it, and be the first one to make it. The rat jumps off, jumps up there, and becomes number one. So rat is always looked on as a clever, devious, and if you guys remember reading about it here,
yep,
the rat was always devious.
Yeah.
And rat is coming off as devious in this book.
Yeah.
And
the rats are the ones that killed his grandfather in that bunker, right? Weren't they the ones who invaded?
No, that was the wolves. That was the wolves.
Oh, wolves.
Yeah. But so I thought it was interesting how Kamandi meets rats and tigers first, just like that book.
It's like the last enemy. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
And the tigers are actually pretty noble in the Kamandi. He teams up with them a lot in the Kamandi.
And when I don't know if I should mention this, when you mentioned this in your video, Sleepy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where he tries to explain how, like, every 10,000 years there's a cataclysm on Earth, a natural one.
Yeah. So I how in flood we never really total reset. It wasn't total reset. We had a second chance.
Right.
Noah's Ark thing.
Noah's Ark, right.
Oh yeah.
The biblical stories that we got flooded, and so I see. I see between these two stories, between his prototypical story and this story, I see Jack Kirby not totally resetting, but giving the human being second chance.
Right.
It's like and even the rest in that story, we got you. We learned how to read and run and all that from your culture, right? It was human culture that gave them that, right? They developed on top of it rather than evolving right from the beginning. So I thought that was really interesting when you mentioned this particular thing. It shows how instead of there's total contact, total destruction that resets everything, and they have to re-evolve. You build on top of a previous existence. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So that's
Yeah.
Very cool.
all right.
Well, I just have another favorite cover at hand.
I use that on Copper Slinger.
That's a great
I
one.
love this image with the giant worm chasing Kamandi. And it's a pretty good issue too. I just reread it today.
That's my cousin, by the way.
Didn't he, like, lead the worm to kill the gorillas or get rid of the gorillas or something?
I think the worm ends up eating all the gorillas'
Eating all the
explosives.
I thought that was great. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. But as always happens at the end of the issue, Kamandi rides off, and even though he'd become pals with all the little gopher people, he rides off into the sunset in one of the trucks he stole from the gorillas.
Oh, I
Off
thought
to
you were
his
going to
next
say he ride
adventure.
the worm. I thought you said he's going to ride the worm.
This is not Dune, no man.
That's what I was going to say.
It does give me shades of Dune looking at this.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I'm sure Kirby read Dune, so he might have had that in mind. Of course,
Hey, CJ.
long before the Dune movie or anything. But,
Yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment, CJ. What can I say?
but Kirby was a big reader of science fiction from what I've read.
Yeah, he was. He was, and you can see from his, from back when he was doing, Strange Worlds and things like that with Joe Simon and all those science fiction stories. He really loved
Jackson,
it.
you're a rabbit, just like me.
63 Rabbit, right?
Yeah.
Right. Damien,
Yeah.
do you have issue 15 handy?
Yep, just give me a sec. Oh. I've shuffled them around a little bit too much now. There we go.
All right, make Damien big. Make because I want people to see the cover there.
So make me big, and then
So this would be my second favorite issue, because this is the Watergate Secrets is the name of the story. And let me tell you, I was a poli-sci major for a while, right? So I was very intrigued by this particular happening, Nixon and his party spying So these guerrillas essentially form their civilization around that event. Okay. And so even their vocabulary is about trials and burglary and spying.
right.
And it is fabulous. It is just a fabulous issue.
Yeah, somehow they've gone from Hialeah, Florida, very quickly to Washington, D.C.
Right.
This is the reporter's chamber in the Capitol building.
That's right.
Sorry, you keep talking, Roger. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's fabulous because, this was a little bit after this was happened, and I think Kirby is sort of making a satire out of it here, but it's just great the way that they essentially take that event, and out of everything that you could have taken, to build a cult or something. They take the Watergate tapes, and that's sort of like the holy grail thing here that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And there's a trial. I mean, it's just hilarious stuff. If you were into politics and satire, this issue is just gold, pure gold.
There's all the tapes.
Here are all the tapes. Yeah.
They play one and then it breaks.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably dust. I mean, it's like
Right.
It
says, I want to make this perfectly clear. Snap.
Yeah. It's fabulous. It's fabulous, man. It's fabulous.
I love it.
Okay. Yeah. I think I either have that in my pressing area or something happened to it, but I'm going to get it back though.
Okay.
Yeah. I read a whole bunch the past few days, and I appreciate this one a lot more now than I did as a kid, I think.
Yeah,
as a kid, I was like, oh, not Watergate again.
Right.
I was so tired of the grown-ups talking about it.
Every night for months, I mean, yeah.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
Yeah. This is probably before, because Watergate was before you got here, man, so you wouldn't.
Right, it was on TV all over the place, and
yeah.
I came in when the Jerry Ford was here, right? Jerry Ford.
Yeah, Gerald Ford was vice president, and he took over when Nixon resigned.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. He pardoned Nixon. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I look
pardoned him
back on
before
him
he-
fondly.
He pardoned him before even there was any crimes that he was accused of.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Psychedelic comics. I had bought most of those Kamandi issues back in the day, thinking it was Planet of the Apes comics. They are long gone, unfortunately.
People did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about on our other Kamandi episode, Psychedelic, about how all the evidence of stuff that Kirby had created before Planet of the Apes that led up to Kamandi.
Yeah, they do parallel to certain things. It wasn't the original inspiration.
So my I guess my turn right now, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Maybe
We have Wormgate, says CJ. We don't need Watergate.
Won't get here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is Ahmad Job. David and Goliath, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a whole David and Goliath thing.
Yeah.
So, issue 2 sort of, I mean, that passage sort of hinted at how he's going to handle, the flood. So I thought that was a pretty interesting. More than the story that's in this book, what I found interesting was the people who wrote in because I have digital copies. I have this another book that collects 20 comic books, but only floppy would have all the
right, the letters page and
all that stuff, right? So I really appreciate these floppy because it has these things that people wrote in. So by the time book 3 came about, they wrote in, and a lot of things that people wrote in is exactly what you're saying, Psychedelic Comic. They thinking it was Planet of the Apes comics.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these people are saying, hey, this is a, you took a lot away from Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah.
But Jack Kirby's response is like 1 or 2 lines only. And he never mentioned anything about, hey, I didn't copy from anybody.
Right.
So I'm imagining, I feel like Jack Kirby was more afraid of referencing this book than Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, probably.
Because I guess they're two different companies at the time, right?
Yeah. That's a different publisher. That's Harvey, I think.
So Jack Kirby said, "Yeah, go ahead and think that we copy from Planet of the Apes."
Yeah.
Because
he knew different.
Yeah, but he didn't want to mention that one.
No, he didn't want to mention that one because he was working for DC. I mean, you don't say, "Well, yeah, I was inspired by the story I wrote in Harvey." Yeah, it's like imagine you're working for Apple. Oh yeah, that's the system that I developed over at Microsoft.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting. Thought process.
So the response does not address Planet of the Apes at all.
No, response sort of accepts. Hey, you copied this from Planet of the Apes. A lot of these guys say, "Hey, you got this from Planet of the Apes," but I appreciate, you add so much more to it. But he never. You see what's coming and what's different.
He sidesteps a lot. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And sometimes the letters were answered by Mark Evanier and Steve Sherman, who were his studio assistants.
Right.
So they were right there in the studio with him, so they might have discussed the answer.
Yeah, they probably just put that, say this, or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So this is is one of my favorite covers, and I actually picked this as one of maybe my third favorite issue. It's near-ish the end of Kirby's run, and Ben Boxer gets turned into a giant, and I love it visually. It's really, really, really cool visually, and it's part of the sort of ongoing saga of them meeting this alien inside a UFO, who is just kind of almost a mischief maker. And it's got all the characters I like, because it's got Ben Boxer, it's got Dr. Canis, it's got Tufton, and it's got a big fight against guerrilla pirates or whatever they are. Yep. There's just trying to find this picture, this design of Tufton's boat is really incredible.
That's quintessential Kirby right there.
Yeah.
But I think I like it because it's just big sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
And I think like here's inside the spaceship. I really like that. And I think it's the first time we talk with the alien. He goes, "I'm me." And then I can be we, I can be us. So it's fun introducing that kind of concept of an alien who's so alien it can split into different personalities and do all these crazy things. And then the alien is controlling Ben Boxer's giant body, and it attacks the ship, and that's just such a epic scene also.
So Jack Kirby struggled with the pronoun first.
Yes.
I
pronouns
think,
are I, us, and we.
I think, as far as Kirby's dynamic style, that issue more than any other, because of the sci-fi elements involved, really accentuate that. Love that issue. You're right. Now I forgot about that issue. Now that you brought it to mind, I remember it now. Great stuff.
Okay, back to you, Naman. Or no, sorry. On to
So for this one, I'm going past the Kirby run.
Interesting.
So, all right, there are reasons here, guys. There are personal and practical reasons for this. As you may have noticed, the stories go all over the place. Chicago down to Florida. They go up to the Devil's Realm or whatever that. By the way, Canada and Alaska are just demon realms or something. Okay,
or giant insects at least.
Yeah, or the giant insects, right? And then down in South America is like bats or whatever. So
right,
it's just a bizarre, pastiche of sci-fi elements in the world. It's amazing, right?
And isn't the Gulf of Mexico filled in with land now?
Part of it is, right?
Which is a crazy idea.
Yeah, and you have those, and then the ship. Was it the rats or something that are out on the Atlantic, and they're like pirates? All kinds of weird stuff going on. Okay, so I'm picking Kamandi 58.
Oh, you picking that one?
I have not read that one yet.
Okay, well, it's not in the Kirby run. This is the next to last issue.
Karate Kid.
Okay, so the story is razor thin. I mean, it is barely coherent. I'll tell you that right off the bat, Damien. So Karate Kid, so let me preface this. Karate Kid series ended in issue 15 abruptly. And his, not really a girlfriend, but love interest, for lack of a better term, because Princess Projector was his love interest in the 30th century. He was in the 20th century. And this lady, Iris Jacobs, became this super diamond death lady. Essentially, she was, transformed into it. And he wants to cure her. So he gets into his time bubble and is going to take her ostensibly to the 30th century to get her help by Brainiac 5 or, all the advances in science that would have. But they get derailed here by these, I don't even know what to say. There are these like lobster crab men or something. And they put them in these little modules here, right? Where they have to play out a role in a movie. And they're like in a drive-in theater. These crab men are just like You know, they're just fanatics about these kind of things. And as long as they go with the role, in other words, they do what they're supposed to, then, you know, they can interact with others. Like, you know, they can, you know, they have fights. And there's this one scene where, I don't know how to put this lightly, but there's an amorous kind of situation that they get put in. Okay. And he's like, oh, this is nice, you know, and all that. But as soon as they start rebelling against the script, then they become ethereal and all that. And eventually the critics, the people, the lobstermen that are watching are like, these guys are just not following the script. So they throw them out. And Canis and Bloodstalker, the Sherlock Holmes guy, blow up the facilities to get them out of there. There's another alien here, Damien. It's a red lady who is actually helping the crew and Karate Kid and Diamond Death get to the 30th century. And the only way they can get there is through the power of the vortex, which has something to do with why the Great Cataclysm happened.
What?
Yeah, it's like it's super convoluted. Eventually, they do get to the 30th century. So this bridges the gap between that Karate Kid 15 and when they end up in the 30th century, and continue the Karate Kid story. So that's why this is one of my favorites. But the story is it's barely comprehensible.
This hooks it into the rest of the DC universe, I guess.
A little bit. And then, of course, this is the last issue, which I'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was this the alien you were talking about?
Yeah, that's her.
Okay. That alien who was a ball of energy eventually becomes this female alien.
Okay.
Let me show that again.
I think her name is Pyra or something like that.
That's it. Pyra, correct. That's it.
So Pyra is when that energy alien wants to have a body, that's the body she creates for herself.
I see. I didn't put that together. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Tricky Trapster.
Hey, Tricky.
All right, my turn.
Yeah, your turn.
Okay. Now this is not my favorite cover at all, but it is one of my favorite issues.
Put yourself big now, man. Yeah, she is cute, Tricky, isn't she?
So this is my favorite issue because
is that issue 4?
Yeah, issue 4. Issue 1 through 3 is basically you're discovering this whole new universe, right?
Right.
And Kamandi is just going from one problem to next, and he's losing will to losing purpose. I mean, he's losing hope. He's not finding, But after what you guys told me about those future issues, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if that's going to be good or not. But he's losing his hope. When he come across this technology that can launch a nuclear weapon, and these tigers want to be able to have that technology.
That's right.
These tiger wants those technology.
Yeah.
Right.
He decided that, hey, the human being need a second chance, right? If right now these tigers have a certain intellect, they have a certain amount of technologies. These animals, but it's not such a huge gap between a human being. For instance, when he met Flower, she could speak. And when he talked to a lot of these other animal intelligent, they weren't too surprised by human being able to speak. They thought, okay, somebody trained him to speak, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't such a huge gap between the humans and the intelligent animals. But if those animals were able to get hold of those technology that was in Vegas, wasn't it in Vegas on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. He thought, okay, that. So his whole thing right here is that this sentence right here. That must be my job from now on. So that must be my job from now on, to see that humans get their second chance.
Yeah. Good pick, Naman. Good pick. Yeah.
Well, so it's like a Kamandi has now purpose.
That's right.
So this is like first, you got the whole new universe, right? The animals talking, and they all have their own little tribes, and what's been discovered, and all that stuff. But this one where Kamandi finds his purpose, I thought that was a really cool.
Yeah, good pick. Good pick. Yeah, because remember, he wasn't expecting. Remember, his grandfather had told him about society before the Great Catechism, and that was what he was expecting, some kind of remnant of that. And all of a sudden, you have this essentially a brand new world that he knows nothing about.
Right.
And you're right. He's like, okay, now I think I know what to do. I can save these people, and we can re-civilize here.
Right.
And even if it
give the human being a chance to catch up. At least give him those so his whole thing is going throughout the United States, and sabotaging these weapons, high degree of weapons, and so I thought that was interesting, and so
good pick.
In a way, preventing another nuclear.
Yeah, don't make the same mistakes we made before.
Right,
let's learn from the past, not relive it.
Right. Oh, Bub's here.
Hey, Bubsy.
Kamandi used all like.
All right. If that's what you say, okay, I did it. There you go. Done. No, it's Damien. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of connecting to what you said, and I think you make a very good point in those early issues, especially reading them now as an adult. It is really quite grim, and Kamandi is in a really horrible position. And in this issue, I really like how they really emphasize his position in this world. So he's taken by the lions to their city, and it's a really nice place. Also, there's all kinds of statues from the past. It's funny, the animals just don't get it when they see the stuff from the past that the humans once ruled. But, there's this really nice lion ranger who is very gentle to him, but he realizes in their world, he's nothing but a pet. And he can't accept a good life as a pet. He's in conflict with it. He's not going to accept that lower position in society or in the world. And so even though it seems like he could have been in a good situation, he has to leave. And it's kind of a gentler issue in the sense that even though he gets all violent and everything, the lion kind of protects him from the authorities and gets him out of the city and takes him so he can go back onto his explorations. And what struck me about this is it both kind of captures a kind of an accurate teenage feeling, that teenage defiance against the world and everything. And it also made me think of, because I've read a lot of biographical material about Kirby. He was a tough guy in a tough ghetto neighborhood, and he lived in a world where, it probably transitioned during his lifetime, but when he was growing up, Jews were not allowed as many opportunities as the non-Jews amongst the white people. And so, like Jews couldn't go into certain professions, they couldn't get into certain schools. That's why so many of the original comic book creators were Jewish, is because there weren't other opportunities for them.
Wow.
It was hard to go to college. It was hard to, be something other than a tailor or some other job like that they would, was acceptable. And then on top of that, he had to go off to World War II and fight the Nazis, who of course wanted to utterly destroy the Jews. So I felt while reading this issue, that sense of this is Jack Kirby here. I felt the Jack Kirbiness. And also, relating, Kamandi is smaller than everyone else, but he's tough. And Jack Kirby was this tough, short guy growing up in that ghetto. So I really connect, as an adult who knew a lot about Kirby, I really connected to this issue in a new way.
Wow.
And to some of the other issues, but it kind of came to a focus for me in that. This was issue number 8.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff, Damien. Yep.
Awesome, guys.
Good stuff. Yeah, he grew up, you was talking about the gangster times, that, you had, Pretty Boy Floyd and all that. I don't know if you ever read his, the magazine size, in the days of the mob.
I've read parts of it. I haven't finished reading it.
Fabulous stuff. Fabulous stuff.
And he was once on a photo cover of a comic as a mobster.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, the only photo comic I think that he was part of, but
okay, cool. Yeah, it was published by DC, but they didn't want to put the DC logo, so they did like Hampshire Publishing,
right.
It was
I remember that they made up something.
They made up something. Yeah, exactly. All right. You kind of took a little bit of my thunder there with that issue 8, but I'm gonna go. I know you love this one too.
Yeah, this is the next one I was gonna talk
about. I thought Sleepy was gonna pick that one first.
Yeah. Because it's Damien talked about some of the some of what is going to happen here. This previous 2 issues previous, but it's interesting, right? When I saw this issue, first of all, his relationship with Flower is interesting, right? Because she's obviously much more intelligent than the majority of humans. Probably she's in the top 1%.
Right.
She can cook. She actually talks with sentences instead of blurps and bleeps of words. And they also care for each other. You figure romantically, but also beyond that, he's like watching over her, when the leopard, okay, let me tell you what's happening here. They're being chased by these leopard guys who want them as like you would want an elephant's ivory tusk. They're poachers, right? And they're worth money. So they want to take them alive, and then Kamandi is like Damien was saying, he's very feisty. This guy, he'll fight you till he can't fight anymore. All right. So he's protecting Flower throughout, and then the lion guys are like the zookeepers or preserve
game wardens, I guess.
Wardens, right? Exactly, wardens, exactly right. And so they think of them like we would of an injured animal. Like we want them to get better, but not human. But we still have, we still care for them. We still have a relationship with them. And okay, spoilers here. This is 50 almost years old, right? Flower is killed by those, but she's like protecting Kamandi. She's killed by the leopard guys. And the lion guys, the lion men usually would just take them and put them in the preserve, but they feel so bad for them when Kamandi's taking her away that he's like, let him have this time with her. So it's a very heart-wrenching story because they set up this relationship, and all throughout you can see that there's just a very close bond. And then of course she goes away. Now her sister Spirit comes up later in the series, but
I think is it after the complaint? Is it after the complaint?
So yeah, so that
Oh,
that
after the letter writers were complaining about Flower dying. Yeah.
flower dye, yeah, exactly. She looks just like her, but no flower.
Yeah. So by time again. All right, one more
That,
round.
that's
Sorry,
my
Jackson
all-time
Wick, because
favorite
I
issue.
spoiled it for you. I'm sorry, my friend.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, I love this cover, but I love this cover right here.
Make yourself big, man.
Yeah.
Come on, giant fingers.
But I do have a complaint about it.
Hey, Joe, Anachronic's in here.
Hello, Joe. Cool.
Hey, it's the King Kong issue.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. I always love the homage covers, but I don't like how he drew the fingernail on the ape.
That is kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
But that's
It's not
Kirby
okay.
fingernails. He did that in the New Gods too.
Ole.
Yeah, he did a few of the monsters in the New Gods were like that.
I would love that cover if
were-
it wasn't that. But
They were almost like protruding, claws almost.
no, and this is for shout out to Gray Man. The whales are monsters.
Whales are monsters.
Hashtag whales are monsters.
Yeah.
Talking monsters.
Talking, yeah. Goliath, I think, is one of the killer whale. Yeah.
Another cover I like is this one, Gulliver Travel.
Oh yeah, that's one of the post Kirby ones.
Yeah. But
Yeah. I got it over here. That one.
you do.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So these are actually, I bought these covers because these are my actual original collection. I never actually collected Kirby when I was at the beginning because these you call it anamorphic? You call it anamorphic when the animal takes on human.
Anthropomorphic. It's a
Anthropomorphic.
hard word to say.
Yeah, anthropomorphic. So these are my issues from my childhood days when I picked up these from the rack.
Ooh.
Yeah, these are my
originals.
Yeah, so my rack right here. So I'm attached to these books because they are from my childhood books. But I just love anthropomorphic kind of stories.
Mm-hmm.
It goes way back, but I never read them. I mean, I went through the pictures, right?
Oh, right. You probably weren't a big reader yet when you got
yeah.
But the pictures probably told you most of the story, I see.
Yeah. So I just went through the pictures, and I mean, I just love that particular universe visually,
Right.
So, yeah, these are something that I probably will never give it up. So, but
and that's why you like Planet of the Apes too, because those are anthropomorphic apes. Essentially.
Yeah. I just like that kind of story. Like at the beginning, I told you about how the year of the rat and the year of the bunny and all those stories and Aesop's tales. I love those stories.
Right.
So this is how it is. I saw a lot of resemblance.
And didn't you say there were anthropomorphic animal characters in Korean comics that you read as a kid?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, those. I'll let you go through it and I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, since Roger already covered my favorite issue, I'll just in the letter column 5 issues later, everybody's complaining about Flower's death in issue 11, and they at the end they answer all these letters, and I think it probably is his assistants writing this because they talk as if Jack is nearby. They talk with him. As you can see, almost everyone was sad to see Flower killed and would have preferred to see her stay around for a few more issues, if not permanently. As I mentioned last month, Jack had the character in mind ever since he began the first issue, which would seem to indicate that Flower's role was created to be more than just a 2-issue plot device. If you follow Jack for any length of time, you're probably aware that he likes to introduce as many characters as possible within the first dozen or so issues, and then go back and use these characters to broaden the picture. And that's certainly exactly what happened with Kamandi as it developed. When last seen, Jack was mulling over the Flower situation and promises that he's not yet through exploring the possibilities. So I think that's probably when he came up with her sister. What's her name?
Spirit.
Spirit. To finish up, there were also a few letters criticizing the way Flower's anatomy was displayed, or the lack of the same. In answer to those who wondered, one, no, there was no fiddling with the art after Jack was through by the code or anyone else. That's the way Jack drew it. Flower's drawn with her hair always conveniently across her breasts. He drew it that way in the first place because that's the way some girls at age 15 look. I'm not sure what they mean by that, if that's referring to the hair or that she didn't have large breasts, perhaps. If Jack had wanted Raquel Welch, he would have drawn Raquel Welch. For further lessons on female anatomy, refer to Mr. Miracle's issues 1 through 15, 4 through 15. So they're talking about a Big Barda. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. And it's in an issue which might be like my fourth favorite since I didn't get my first, but actually it's hard to pick. But this one where he gets his little airplane gets blown up out of the air, or it just blows itself up, and he falls in the water and gets fished out by the crew of Sacker's department store's boat. And there's a whole mystery about this thing that's in again, he's very feisty and he escapes several times. But we get quite a sort of epic vision of capitalism out of control with slavery and other things going on. And then this mysterious devil that's in the hold, which all issue long we keep hearing references to, and they they use these smoking sticks that have a horrible smell to control the devil. And I'm going to spoil this. On the final page, we've already referred to the grasshopper anyway. We learned the devil is the grasshopper, and the grasshopper Click Clack becomes a very memorable character for about 4 issues there. So
awesome. I don't know. I mean, it's like having a magic power. I mean,
the world creation here, the world building here in Kamandi, to me is like just top notch. Just layer upon layer upon layer that he keeps going up and up and up and up, and that's why it's so enticing a series, because you never know what that next layer would be.
Right.
You had to get that next issue.
What crazy thing that you can't imagine he's going to come up with.
Is it going to be snakes, or, is it going to be, anyway.
Yeah. At least when Sacker's revealed as a snake, that was a big shock too.
That was a shock. Yeah. Not.
And then Spirit shows up.
And Spirit shows up. Right. And I think exactly. He was talking about, the body type. 15 would not be as developed.
Right.
All right. So my next one is the next issue after that one, and that is the last issue of Kamandi 59. Now,
kind of infamous.
Exactly, because there was no indication this was the last issue. It just sort of happened, Okay, well, let me start from the beginning. So in this story, remember I told you back then that they had Pyra. She's trying to save her civilization, which is why she's there. And this is where they find the wall, the barrier that supposedly that vortex power source is behind. And that's what she needs to save her world. It's like some kind of infinite power source. And apparently that has something to do with the Great Cataclysm. Cataclysm. Yeah, sorry.
I'm learning the new word, cataclysm.
Not catechism. That's religious stuff. Okay.
What date was the last issue?
What date? It is October. It's dated October 1978. Okay. All right. So they're and she's like, oh, we can just fly over the wall. No, I don't have enough power to, because it's, they can't even see the top of the wall. It's so massive, right? So they're trying to devices and they're being like stopped by these kangaroos, anthropomorphic kangaroos that have, what do you think their weapons are?
Boxing gloves? No.
Boomerangs.
I haven't read.
Boomerangs.
No.
Yeah, here I'll show you. It's just, but it's so bizarre. Oh, and bolos too, and bolos. See the bolos? Yeah. and so they have finally gotten past that. They're at the cusp of going into that, and then some mysterious. They have to wear these radiation suits because there's a huge amount of radiation. Look at this panel here, Kirby-esque kind of there.
Yeah.
And then what? It ends. And I'm like, okay, well, 60. It's good. And then I'm looking on the rack, no 60. Months go by, no 60. It ended here. Now, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
It was a victim of the DC implosion.
Yeah. So, but there's another story with OMAC, drawn by Jim Starlin, which is separate from the command. This is two stories in this issue. Kamandi and OMAC. Okay, they don't meet. Okay, this cover is kind of misleading, right? So that is why, Damien, when you were talking, and we were talking last week about the connection, I think this is where it was heading.
Right.
They were setting up the backstory of OMAC to merge it at some point in the future into Kamandi.
Right.
But that was Kirby's plan.
But was it Kirby's plan? Some people think it was.
It might have been. Remember, Kirby might have said this to editors, or it might have been in some kind of file or something, and they were maybe taking it to fruition. But unfortunately, they canceled the title. But so it's my favorite only because it's so tempting. It's like, we're gonna find an answer. What happened to that in that cataclysm, and then kaput.
But now you can get the answer.
Right.
Do you have this?
No, I don't have the Kamandi challenge. That's on my list.
It reprints in black and white, that issue 60.
Okay, great.
I haven't read it yet because I haven't read.
You want to read it all the way through.
I didn't read the end of the run, and I've been waiting to read it all the way through, which I am now doing. You'll be seeing more videos about Kamandi from me as I read the whole thing.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so I'm sure it was an $8 issue when they put this out, but I bet you can find it for a lot less now.
I got this for $1 at the dollar bin.
So, of course, you would have liked that when you were a kid and not now. And I don't know if it ends the story either because I haven't finished reading it. But it continues into an issue of the Sandman, I think. Yeah,
that was never completed either by Kirby.
Which they also feature in this issue.
Oh, okay.
So for those two, I think it's worth digging.
Oh no, definitely. It's on
and
my
you get
list.
nice reprints of Kamandi, but
I went to my LCS to look for it last month. Actually, they didn't have it.
Sorry, it's not my turn anyway.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to show. This is my original copy of Kamandi. Some of you've seen a while back the video I did where I got a box of comics from my mom. Discovered as a kid I had wrapped all these comics in some kind of bag.
You still kept it that way?
And I haven't taken it out because I have plenty of copies of this.
Okay.
But this was my very first issue of Kamandi, and I loved it, of course. And part of me just feels funny unwrapping my work as a kid.
Wow.
And
so
this bag was in the attic, and it's all like, it must have been a large but very thin plastic bag. And I mean,
you did a better job keeping it nice.
I folded it over and I taped it, and because of the heat in the attic, it's all sealed.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So the ones I have taken out, you have to get scissors and cut through it. But I feel an affection for my childhood self for having wrapped this in plastic.
Wow,
Here's another one I wrapped in plastic. And I discovered that I had, because of this box, that I had about 20 issues of Kamandi. I didn't realize I had so many, but I think it took me a long time to piece them together. Like I found them in used bookstores and things, because I had issues earlier than this issue 12.
Wow.
So
Cool stuff, Damien.
anyway,
Cool stuff,
that's
man. I remember that
story.
video when you found that box and you had like an ASM 121, 122, and all kinds of good stuff in there.
Yeah, well, that was crazy because I had no idea I had saved the. I had no memory of putting them in bags even.
Okay, the reason I love these. Can you pronounce that word for me again, please, guys?
Anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic. These are the books I read when I was like 7 to 11 before I came to the United States. So these are, you see these, I think that's cat.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool artwork.
Yeah. So I mean, this is back in what? So 7. So if I was 7, that's 5 years before 74, so 69 around there.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the books I read when I was a kid. Not bad, huh? I mean,
not bad at all.
Have you seen the Usagi Yojimbo books? Because this art reminds me of that.
That's what the Usagi Yojimbo book reminds me of.
It might be inspired by this sort of thing. I mean, I believe the author's Japanese American, but he may have seen
Stan Sakai.
Stan Sakai, yeah.
So these are. So you could say that's me right there.
There's Norman right there, man. I recognize that hair.
These are the where you go to a comic book store.
Oh, you said that you would rent them rather than buy them?
You buy hours.
Uh-huh.
And just you buy the seat in hours. So you say, hey, $1 for 2 hours or $3 for 4 hours or whatever, and then they give you discount if you do the whole day of the store, 8 hours or whatever.
Did you ever do 8 hours?
Well, see, at the time, going to a comic book store is demerit. You get demerits, right? I mean, if we're talking military terms.
From your parents or from something else?
Well, from school.
From school. Oh.
So let's say, by the way, I was like a class president at the time.
Oh.
So I'm supposed to give demerits to those people.
Oh,
if I find them
an example.
So what I had to do was whenever my mom take me to grocery shopping, she would walk about, I don't know. At the time, I was thinking maybe 5 miles, whatever, however long would. So I said I would like try to memorize where the comic book room is because that's out of my school district, right?
So they wouldn't find out.
Yeah, so I'll go in there and I go in the morning and I buy the whole day. As soon as I come out, it's all dark. I come in with the sun, and I will come out. And
that's an amazing story. I love it.
I mean, that's how I used to read comic books. And the idea of having your own comic book is out of the question. And these are the cover for it. Boy, I would love to find. It says 동물 전쟁. It's a animal war.
Animal World.
Or war is WAR. War.
Animal War. Ah.
Yeah, Animal War.
War.
Yeah. So,
that makes it more like Kamandi. There's so many wars in Kamandi.
Yeah.
So these are the books that I read, and I thought that's what the Kamandi was going to be about. So that's what. So, I wish I could find these books. I actually, but these books are. Idea of owning your own comic book is out of the question, and idea of having your own collection like we have right now. Probably maybe now they have it, but in Korean culture back then it wasn't something that we did, right? I mean, even comic books that we rented, it was all torn, and cover wasn't in good shape, But
yeah, they've probably been read by hundreds of different people.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably read it hundreds of times, because I would go there and sometimes you have your favorite issues and you want to see the next one, but sometimes they don't come, so you just read again. The ones you read. So
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
Jackson Roycork's very upset that you as class president shamed yourself.
I was a horrible person.
What kind of example are you?
I have the audacity to go tell the other kids, "Hey, you give me this for you."
That was before comic books were cool, That was the dark era, dark times.
I'm suddenly imagining taking part of my comic book collection and putting it in a room and having people rent it.
I'm sure I won't pay for going to either one of you guys' rooms. Here, $10. Let me just read the comic books.
I'll put a little shingle out, $10 an hour, Metacave.
Loved your room tour, by the way, of the Metacave. I didn't have a chance to leave a comment, but
no problem.
It's really nice.
Thank you. It's been 40 some years in the making. When you consider your career in comics. Since I was 1973 was when I first got a comic, but I didn't really buy my own until 74. So next year is sort of my 50, the great anniversary. And
comics probably helped both of you guys with English, so that's
right.
Yeah, well,
even more profound than my experiences with comics.
Yeah, because my parents came from Cuba in late 61. So growing up, I was brought up by my grandparents because my father and mother were working almost 18-hour days.
Wow.
And so I only spoke Spanish until I got to kindergarten. And I was like,
that was a shock, probably.
What are they speaking here? So because I was watching like Sesame Street and Electric Company, but that was a TV. I figured that was a foreign country somewhere, that they were speaking English. And my brother, he spoke English, but he was like, no, that's in Spanish, that's what they speak here. I was like, oh, he was always a big kidder.
You must love the Zuma Zoom.
Well, so you were like Kamandi coming out of the bunker and suddenly discovering the world was different.
Yeah. No wolves killed my grandfather, but
luckily.
But I acclimated very quickly because I guess from watching, in somewhere in my brain I had that background. So I picked up English like within a few months, like pretty quickly, and had no problems after that.
Yeah, it took me a while. I mean,
you were a bit older, though. I think the brain, as you get older, makes it harder.
Yeah. Also, I think the language difference between Korean to English is quite a bit different than Spanish.
Quite a bit different. Yeah.
Well, true. Yeah, the roots are very similar.
For instance, if I went to Japan,
English is similar. Yeah.
And try to learn Japanese, probably a lot easier than me trying to learn English.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I do not give rides on my spinner rack. I'm sorry. Only comics get rides on my spinner rack.
Get the spinner for $10.
You're not hanging off my spinner rack for $10. Okay?
No rides. We just want to be able to spin it and see all the books.
I'll take it to the playground. I'll throw the merry-go-round around, but not in here.
Well, now I'm picturing the spinner rack of the future that Jack Kirby would create.
It would have these lights. It would have like this ostentatious design. It would be probably, it probably wouldn't spin. It would probably rotate, on itself, like a turntable, and then inside of that, would have other things spinning.
And it would launch into space. And
yeah, sure, it would have rockets on the bottom. Yeah.
I do want to mention one. I think I already told Sleepy Reader, but I do want to mention that you showed that book where the Karate Kid crossed over to Kamandi Universe.
Right.
So there's one crossover that's really more feasible than this one. It don't have to be all wild. The Warlords.
Yes.
Warlords. Their generation may not have affected by the
disaster.
Right. It could have been
like protected under
from it. Yeah.
Also, they never explained what happened to the rest of the command center. They were deep inside the
No.
deep inside the earth, right?
No,
To
right.
have that kind of protection. Maybe they found the. You guys read Stephen King's was it Stephen King's latest Stephen King novel? I think it was called Fairy Tale, or Stephen King's novel called. I forgot what was called.
I haven't read his more recent stuff.
But anyway, his story is about where this guy finds a tunnel to Middle Earth, and there's all kind of fairy tale creatures in the Middle Earth. So, but so if he found something like that, people of a command center found something like that, where they could have crossover between the Warlord universe and the Kamandi universe.
Oh, there's one more thing, Norman. I wanted to tell you.
That would be brilliant. I mean, DC should take that idea and run with it.
That's right. They should, and I think that they are connecting the dots when you think about Aquaman movie, and they were talking about something about Atlantis, etc.
Yeah.
Another thing that you'd be interested about this, Norman, is that I think, right? I mean, again, this was stopped abruptly, but when Karate Kid, is fighting with Kamandi, he was like, "Man, you remind me of somebody," and it's intimated that in the future that he could be a Legionnaire.
Wow.
Oh.
That somehow he's transported into the future and becomes a Legionnaire, because he says that he has because when he's traveled into the future of the Legion as well. So he was thinking, you remind me of somebody. You would make a heck of a good Legionnaire. And then when he's leaving, it's sort of like he's thinking about something like, but of course it ends, So
if there was someone called Feisty Lad.
This is worse than
exactly, right.
This is worse than
So yeah, I think that they were setting something up there, but of course, because of the whole implosion, it never got used. But of course, the Super Legion kept going. But right. All these second and third tier, not all of them, but a lot of them, like Freedom Fighters, I was like, ugh. I really love that title, and then that was axed, So
yeah, a lot of good stuff went by the wayside there.
Yeah.
So there is this series called Kamandi at Earth's End, and it has such a 90s look that I haven't brought myself to read it yet. I bought it a number of years ago, but it looks like it's Kamandi in some other future, not the Jack Kirby one, where he is out to kill Superman. I think, but I haven't read it because I get that kind of look turned me off. Gosh. And so I've been putting off, but I should give it a try.
Wow!
Once I finish this whole run of Kamandi, I think I'll give this a try.
Let me tell you, if you're thousands of years old and you look that buff, sign me up, man. Whatever he's drinking,
And then there was this crazy Kamandi challenge, which I would only recommend if you find it in dollar bins or something. But it has amusing moments and a lot of cool artists. This issue that I just happened to grab is drawn by the Kevin Eastman from the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
But written by Tom King, who kind of irritates me. But so it's an amusing novelty to have different creators on every issue. But the story becomes a mess as they do kind of a round robin of storytelling.
Same thing happened with the DC challenge in the 80s. Same thing.
And that was the idea. This is the Kamandi challenge, which they did to celebrate Jack Kirby's 100th birthday, which was a nice gesture.
Nice tribute, yeah.
You think Jack Kirby is the best is Kamandi?
That's hard to say. It's definitely one of the very best for me. But I love New Gods and Mr. Miracle.
Is that
and of course, much of his Fantastic Four run, of course, is amongst the greatest comics of all time.
It's classic stuff.
I mean, is it 40? You say he's went up to 40 issues on Kamandi. Is that the most longest series he had?
Longest at DC, but not the
DC,
longest.
Yeah.
He did 102 issues.
Yeah, 100 some issues. Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many issues of Thor, but it must be close to that.
Yeah, must be pretty close. Yeah. But the Jack, I mean, to me, Kamandi, I think what's unique about it is that, I think we've said this before, is that it's a self-contained world
Oh, since I was on the big picture, I was going to show one more thing, but
go ahead,
finish.
go ahead.
Let
No, go
Roger
ahead.
finish the thought anyway.
No, I was just going to say that it was a self-contained world, and because he no longer had so many titles to work on, because all the new gods and all that was ended right before, he could put all his efforts into this. So, I mean, some people say, well, it was kind of like a consolation prize because they canceled that. Maybe you can say that, but to me, as far as just actual the most original comic at the time, it was Kamandi to me. That was
Right.
hands down.
Cool.
Yeah, and like I was saying, he's put so much of himself in it. You realize as an adult reading it that there's an intensity to it because of that biographical sort of element hidden in it. So if you don't have enough money to buy all the giant Jack Kirby artist editions, this is an interesting thing called Jack Kirby Pencils and Ink. The list price is $50, but I'm sure there's discounts. But the concept here, let me find the Kamandi one, is they had Xeroxes of his pencils before it got inked. So you get to see the pencils and then the inked pages side by side. And it covers Kamandi #1 and OMAC #1 and the Demon.
I like to
#1.
have that copy.
So if you're an art fan, this is kind of a cool book to get.
And that's taken from the original art that
yeah. So it's a low quality copy because it's a Xerox.
Right.
Kirby actually bought his own Xerox machine. Sorry, my camera's coming to life.
AI.
Kirby bought his own Xerox machine because he wanted a record of what he'd been doing. Because he'd had so much trouble, with the comic book companies.
Getting his art back, probably, yeah.
So it's just kind of a cool way to, if you're an art fan, to sort of look at this art. And there is, it is incredible art. It is an important piece of
there's OMAC
comic book history.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these people might be be the humans in Kamandi's future.
It fits all the facts that we know. I mean, when you think about it, it fits all the facts. So right. I think at some point they were to merge.
Some people wondered if Kamandi was an artificial person.
Yep, that's also crossed my mind. Yep.
But yeah, so this is kind of fascinating, and there are so many of those artist editions, but each one of them costs about $125, $150.
Yeah.
This is a nice in between kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna aim for those two books. I mean, those are 2 books back in your background. Those are tablet, the 10 Commandment tablets you got there.
Don't go up a mountain and drop them.
It shows how many Kamandi fans there are out there that they put out 2 of them.
Yep.
I don't think they've done that with any. Well, they put out multiple Spider-Man ones, but other than that, So.
I don't think we can realistically compare those 2 characters' popularity, but passionately, passionately, Kamandi fans are bigger, but
for the kind of people who are so into it that they will buy these deluxe kind of things.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been buying different kind of Kamandis. I mean, so I don't know. But hey, gentlemen, let's close it up.
All right.
I'm ran out of things to talk about myself.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go soon anyway.
All day long,
yeah.
But
go ahead.
Nauman, this was wonderful of you to do these 2 videos. It's been a real thrill.
I really enjoyed it myself, guys. I learned quite a bit. What's going on with you guys' channels? Go ahead, Sleepy, Damien.
Well, I'm mostly gonna just continue what I've started for my New Year's, which is reading. I'm reading lots of back issues and gonna do like a weekly diary of what I've read. Yeah, I might splinter off into a separate Kamandi video because I've now read like 20 Kamandi comics in the past week and a half.
No duck race. Just odd ducks, that's all.
No duck race. You get the Sleepy Reader's diaries, okay?
Yeah.
What about you, Raj?
Well, I don't really plan ahead what I'm going to be doing. Like Damien, he's got some kind of at least some
A little bit,
framework
yeah.
there. Yeah. But I've been getting into my ACG, American Comic Group's comics. And I just recently, because of Silver Knight Kyle, bought a couple of proofs that were like dirt cheap, like $5 or something.
Like printer's proofs of
Printer's
things?
proofs, correct. And 2 were colored, 1 was black and white. And so I'm going to show that off. And I think in the future I'm going to do a video about, because I don't see a lot of people really talking about this company. It folded in 1967, 68, somewhere around there. But when I read the stories and I look at the art, the nostalgia comes back to me, because these were like the cheap quarter bin comics back in the 70s and 80s. And so I when I didn't have a lot of money, I would buy them. And I was like, well, okay, it's not Spider-Man, it's not Thor, but it's comics. It's, I devour most any comic. Now, not too many Archies, but most any comic. So I think I'm going to sort of relive that nostalgia and show that art and sort of my history with those comics. It's more like maybe it's being a bit indulgent on my part, but I think it's interesting that a lot of these comics are kind of forgotten.
Yeah,
They're just sort of not talked about.
Are they the ones that had like that Captain Marvel whose arms came off?
That is MF.
Oh, that's another one. Okay.
Myron Fast. ACG had three superheroes. Well, Herbie, I don't know if I'd call him a superhero.
They did Herbie. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, Herbie.
That alone is
and then Nemesis, and then you had Magic Man.
Okay, haven't heard of those two.
Well, no, not many people have. They only lasted a couple of years. So I figured maybe I'll be doing something, but that might be, a few weeks down the line.
Cool. All right. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a show tomorrow. Matter of fact, if any of you guys want to co-host with me, you're welcome to. Because Otaku, my Otaku bro, he's celebrating the Lunar New Year with his family, so he can't make it tomorrow, and it's pretty early, 9 o'clock. I'm gonna interview a guy I met at the Baltimore Con. He made this comic book for Korean historical comic book about General Lee. He's the guy.
Yeah, I saw that video where you showed the guy. Yeah, you met him. Yeah.
I should have prepared the comic book itself, but he's the guy that. You see that turtle ship right there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That turtle, the General Lee is the guy who designed this turtle ship, and with the less, he wiped out Japanese Navy. That's a lot bigger in size than Korean Navy, because of this particular turtle ship. So how this turtle ship worked is that the outer shell is all metal, so it doesn't burn. I mean, when they fire arrows at it, and the little dragon head right here is a battering ram. It splits the battle ram into their ships and sink other ships. So this ship alone destroyed their armada. But
Japanese Armada. Yep.
Yeah. So
I remember reading about that. Yep, I remember reading.
So, Roger, this may be the key.
we may have made a key.
This is a key book. First appearance of a Kabuksan. It's called Kabuksan.
Okay, if I'm free, I'll come on. I'm not sure. My wife might have something planned.
Yeah. So
it's too early for me. I can't. I don't think I can do that.
No pressure on you guys, but I'm gonna have him over at 9, and we're gonna talk about he had 10 books. The series of, because this guy had all kind of strategies, naval strategies and stuff. He put all that in comic book. So I'm really interested in talking to the dude. So that's what I'm gonna have tomorrow. I guess let's say bye to chat room. I think thanks for coming by chat room.
A lot of great people in the chat.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right.